Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing all kinds of good. Today I have a deck review for you today. This is the Fantôme Deluxe edition. This deck is launching on Kickstarter. As this video goes live, there will be a link in the description if you want to check it out over on Kickstarter. Just a heads up, this deck was sent to me for review purposes ahead of the Kickstarter by the creators. And if you choose to back using my link in the description, I will get a little bit of a kickback from that. With that out the way, this is the second edition of this deck, and this edition includes an oracle deck as well. So this is the box, Mind of the Fingerprints, and if you can see the holographic detailing, it is quite gorgeous. I will say I'm not 100% sure how many changes will be made. This obviously is a prototype. I know that the card stock of this will be updated for the campaign, but I believe most, if not all, of the other details remain the same. So in here we have the tarot deck, the guidebook, and there is an oracle deck under here as well. I'm gonna flip through all of the cards with you. I will have a look at the guidebook with you. I'll do a little mini reading. If you are just interested in my high-level thoughts of this one, it is a really lovely Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. It is, I wouldn't call it a clone, but it's pretty close in most of the cards and indeed in the guidebook interpretations. I also really like the oracle deck that comes with this. I think it's a really fun expansion of the deck. This is the tarot deck. It is a standard tarot size. You can see there's beautiful metallic gilding on the back. We've got holographic gilding on the edges. Mine has bowed a little bit, but that is because this is a prototype version. The cardstock will be different if you choose to back it. My deck is out of order because I have been playing with this since I received it, but let's go through it. So we have the High Priestess here. As you can see, pretty consistent with the Rider-Waite-Smith. We've got the light and the dark pillars, the water in the background. I really like this detail on her dress, on her robe. Four of Pentacles. I like this because it's not so, doesn't feel so miserly. Page of Pentacles, Five of Cups, Two of Cups, the Moon. I think this is really beautiful. This really suits the style of the deck, or the style of the deck suits the Moon card in particular. Temperance. I love these little steps. The Fool. I really do like this Fool with the like the hair over the eyes. That blind faith. Two of Swords. The Queen of Pentacles. I like the court cards in this deck. They're pretty straightforward, but I just think they're really nice. The Four of Cups here. That hand reaching out from this waterfall, I think is interesting. The Reader. So there are two additional cards in this deck. We've got the Reader and then the Artist somewhere else in here. The King of Swords, which I really like. I like this platform. I don't know, it feels extra King of Swordsy to me. The World. The Nine of Wands. Chariot. The Four of Wands. The Seven of Cups. I do like that there is something different in each cup, which you would expect considering how closely this is following the Rider-Waite-Smith, but you don't always see it, and it's a detail that I really like. The Hanged Man. The King of Cups. The Seven of Wands. I like this like balancing act, the jumping from the parkour, the jumping from one platform to another. The Four of Swords. The Five of Pentacles. Something I really like about this deck, and one of the reasons I was really excited about it, it reminds me of She-Ra, specifically the She-Ra and the Princesses of Power series on Netflix, with these like bluey lines and kind of vague sci-fi magicalness. Judgment. The Magician. And She-Ra is like a really big comfort watch in our household, so this was one I was really excited to have. the Three of Swords, the Devil, the Six of Swords, the King of Wands. Like, we've got the Salamanders, the Knight of Wands. Here again, we've got the Salamanders on the horses. The horses, neckerchief, and the pyramids in the background. So there are nods to the Rider-Waite symbolism, the Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism throughout. The Empress, the Wheel of Fortune, Three of Cups, the Nine of Cups, the Queen of Cups, who I think is so beautiful. I love this card. I love all the queens in this deck. See, this is very Catra from She-Ra. It's giving me Catra vibes. The Seven of Swords. This is a good example as well. You can see we've got these like pointy elf ears and some like blue people. So it's kind of sci-fi, kind of fantasy. I just really like the world that's been built. I think they have balance between a Rider-Waite-Smith clone and creating a cohesive setting. I think that's been balanced really well. Nine of Swords, Page of Swords. I love this page. There we go, the artist. So this is the second additional card, extra card in this deck. The Five of Wands, the Eight of Swords. I like that she's standing in this river. I like that they're standing in this river or some body of water. I think that nod to the emotional aspect of the Eight of Swords being visualized there is quite nice. The Knight of Pentacles. All the knights have masks on and I really like them. The Nine of Pentacles. Like, we've got the grapes, we've got the bird. The Ten of Swords. This is one of the most melodramatic Ten of Swords because the swords are so oversized. And melodrama is truly one of my words for the Ten of Swords cards because it's so unnecessary. It's so many swords, and I like how exaggerated they are in this. We've got this little star that we're dropping or something, which I think is a nice nod to the sunrise that we usually see in the Ten of Swords. I think it gets the same effect across, especially if you think like the star means hope in the major arcana. The sun, I think this horse poking his little head over is really cute. I personally prefer everybody to be contained in the garden in the sun, but I do think this looks nice. Knight of Swords. The Tower. This card in particular feels very She-Ra to me. I don't know what it, just something about it feels like a scene out of She-Ra. The Star. Justice. We've got the scales balanced on the sword, which I think is quite nice. The Five of Swords. The Hermit. The Ten of Pentacles. No dog, which is sad to me. I like to see a dog in the Ten of Pentacles because I like to see dogs, but hardly a deal breaker. The Two of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. King of Pentacles. I really like this. I just think the courts are all really nice in this deck. The Three of Pentacles. The Eight of Cups. Death, which is one of the cards that has taken more liberties with the arrangement, with the composition of the image, but we still have like all of the key features there. The Queen of Swords. The Ace of Cups. The Page of Cups. I think this card is so pretty. The Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Wands. The Six of Wands. The Emperor. The Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Wands. The Ten of Cups. The Six of Cups. Something I really like in this one is as a reference or as a clone, as a redraw, however you want to phrase it, of the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork. I think something that often gets lost from Pixie's artwork in the Six of Cups specifically is the the weird proportions of the two figures. I think often it gets translated as just an adult and a child, whereas in Pixie's artwork, you have this kind of small figure but wearing kind of older women's clothing, and there's that weird, I don't know, would you call it a juxtaposition, or it's just kind of odd about the composition, and I like how that's been translated in this. I still don't know how I particularly read that in the Six of Cups, other than being I guess like distortion of memory almost is probably how I interpret it, but I like that it's there. The Two of Wands, the Queen of Wands, another gorgeous, gorgeous queen. We've got a little black cat, we've got our sunflowers. I love it. The Knight of Cups, the Ten of Wands, the Lovers, the Six of Pentacles. This is another one that I really like because it is close enough to the Rider-Waite-Smith that you can recognize what's going on. But it feels more neutral to me, whereas a lot of Six of Pentacles cards can feel very much like charity or sharing. And I think the Six of Cups has the potential, the Six of Pentacles has the potential to be imbalanced in either direction. It's something I talk about a lot, and I like that this is more neutral as a Six of Pentacles. The Hierophant, and then finally the Three of Wands. So that is the tarot deck. I really do adore this holographic edging, because of course I do. So as you can see, very pretty, very Rider-Waite-Smith-y. I'm going to show you the Oracle deck. We'll go through that card by card, and then I think have a little look at the guidebook, have a look at the decks together, give you my thoughts on them, do a little reading. So the Oracle deck is larger in size than the tarot. Like I said, the tarot is a pretty standard tarot size, and to be honest, the Oracle deck is a pretty standard Oracle size. It's not too big, which I like. It is a smidge taller than the tarot, and quite a bit wider. The backs are also complementary. Like you can tell they go together, but it's not identical, which I like. Like they feel complementary. The Oracle deck really does feel like an expansion of the tarot deck, particularly in art style. It feels as though it's from the same world, and it feels like an expansion of the world. I think because the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is so familiar to me, and we're so familiar with the scenes in the Rider-Waite-Smith. Like for instance, this Three of Pentacles is very, very similar to Pixie's artwork in the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's like a different angle, but all the elements are there. The scene is very, very similar, whereas the Oracle deck is something original, but it does feel like an expansion of the world building of the deck, if that makes any sense. There are 25 Oracle cards, and these also are out of order because I've been playing with it. But we have here Protection. You are shielded from harm, feel safe to journey onward. Intuition, listen to your heart's whispers. They hold truths untold. I adore this artwork, and I adore the artwork of a lot of this Oracle deck, actually. So here we have Clarity. The fog lifts and all becomes clear. See with fresh eyes. Renewal. A fresh chapter begins. Embrace the new with open arms. Insight. Trust your inner knowing. The answers lie within. I think this is definitely one that I've pulled for myself. Gratitude. Appreciate life's gifts. Abundance follows gratitude. I like that it's like a crystal ball. I think that's nice. Transformation. Embrace change. Growth emerges from endings. Connection. Strengthen bonds. Unity brings greater strength. Harmony. This is a really, really beautiful card. Find balance in life's symphony. Peace is within reach. Creativity. Express yourself freely. Let your soul's colors shine. Passion. Pursue your desires with fervor. Let your heart lead. Surrender. Let go of control. Flow with life's natural rhythm. Purpose. Align with your calling. Live with intention and direction. This is some more of my favorite artwork from this Oracle deck. Manifestation. The power to create is in your hands. Believe in abundance. Guidance. Seek wisdom. The universe speaks through symbols. Acceptance. Welcome things as they are. Peace flows from acceptance. Resilient. This is some more of my favorite artwork because this is like Lava flows, it looks like, and then the flower growing. I love it. Resilience, endure life's trials. You are stronger than you know. Courage, face challenges boldly. Your strength is unwavering. Patience, allow things to unfold naturally. Time reveals all. Forgiveness, release old wounds. Freedom lies in letting go. Wisdom, knowledge gained from experience. Trust your learned insight. Awakening, a new dawn approaches. Open your eyes to possibilities. Freedom, liberate yourself from constraints and embrace your true self. Healing, embrace self-care, restore your energy and spirit. And finally, faith, believe without seeing, trust in what you feel is true. All right, so this is how the decks look together. Obviously, they complement each other very well, being the same art style by the same artist with the card there, and they feel like they go really well together, which sounds redundant, but what I mean is, as I've said, the Oracle really does feel like an expansion of the Tarot. The Oracle feels like it almost feels like good context for the world that the tarot is set in, and also the messages and the keywords and the kind of vibe of the Oracle deck feel like context for how this deck presents the system of tarot. You may well have noticed going through that even the more brutal cards like Death, like Three of Swords, like the Ten of Swords, the Ten of Swords was very, very melodramatic, but none of them were really brutal or gritty. And that's not to say I don't feel like it was too overly positive or light washy, but it's certainly not a really heavy hitter in terms of the imagery. And I feel like the Oracle deck, the images, the messages support that, as well as the images also feeling like context for the world, because although it is very Rider-Waite-Smith consistent, we've got the little details, we've got the kind of glowy blue magical sci-fi stuff happening. Everybody's got kind of blue skin and elfy ears, and people are doing magic, again, more so in the Oracle deck. So it does have that kind of mystical, magical element to it. On the note of the Oracle setting the vibes for the Tarot, or vice versa, the Oracle is a little bit on the affirmation side. Like, it's not affirmations, but it is more on the positivity rather than practical advice spectrum of things, and I do tend to lean a little bit more cynical in my preferences in my collection, but I do like having decks that are pretty and nice to me. That is a really important part of my Oracle deck collection in particular. Is, yes, I like having decks that really make me think, that are really kind of hard hitting, but I do also like having decks that just are a pretty picture and some nice words, because God knows we all need that sometimes. And I think this deck does a really good job of that. I have used the Oracle deck with this tarot deck. I have exclusively used the Oracle deck with this tarot deck, but I have used this tarot deck with some other Oracle decks in my collection. That's just the way it panned out. I wasn't intending not to use the Oracle deck with anything else, but I think it makes so much sense to use these two together. But the tarot decks always feel a little bit more versatile to me, because I know the system, the 78 cards, so well. So it felt more natural to pair the tarot deck with other things I have in my collection. Overall, I really enjoyed reading with both of them. I think the tarot deck's a really easy, straightforward reader. If you're familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith, you'll have no problem reading with it. I will get to the guidebook in a minute, but I do like the guidebook. I think the guidebook does a good job. The guidebook also matches the tone that I was trying to get at with this deck. So I said I'd get to it in a minute, but well, this is that time. So for instance, at a random page, we have upright and reversed keywords, and then a paragraph of interpretation. And the interpretation lends more, it's not exactly predictive, but it is along the lines of, here is the kinds of experiences that this card can represent, rather than some decks, some guidebooks, which are really psychological, really soul searchy. Like, for an example, the Eight of Cups represents living in alignment with one's truth and walking away from unfulfilling situations. The reader may have recently left a job, relationship, or friendship that no longer served them. They might be on the verge of making a major decision. This card acknowledges the difficulty of such choices, but reassures the reader that following their instincts is the right path. It encourages letting go of what no longer resonates and trusting intuition to guide them. When reversed, the Eight of Cups suggests hesitation in leaving an unsatisfying situation or fear of change. It serves as a gentle push to prioritize well-being and embrace the journey toward fulfillment. So do you see what I mean? It's not exactly predictive, but it's kind of, here are the real life situations that this card can represent, which I think fits with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, fits with most people's reading styles, fits with my reading style, but it's certainly more grounded in giving advice for real life situations than any very psychological or very spiritual kind of attitude. I hope that that was clear. While we're in the guidebook, let's look at an Oracle deck entry. So again, you've got an image of the card. The message that's on the card is not repeated in the guidebook, which I appreciate because this isn't a whole lot of space. This is an expansion of the message on the card, so there's no like wasted word count in repeating what you've already got here on the card, except for obviously the title. So for instance, gratitude, the message is appreciate life's gifts, abundance follows gratitude. And the message in the guidebook is gratitude is a reminder to focus on the blessings in your life, no matter how small. This card asks you to shift your perspective from lack to abundance, celebrating what you have rather than lamenting what you don't. Gratitude opens the door to joy and prosperity, inviting more of what you appreciate into your life. Let this card inspire you to approach each day with a grateful heart. So as I think I mentioned, it's more on the kind of positive, good vibes, focus on the bright side kind of thing. But that's not a bad thing, and it's not to the point where it feels like it is trivializing or minimizing or being kind of toxic positivity about it. Like, it's not that. It's just positive. It's just good vibes. The other very cool thing about this deck is you can, as it says here, scan the QR code to access the AR, which I think is Augmented Reality Tarot app. I can't show you that because I'm filming on my phone, but if you download the app, you can use it to look at your cards and you get like a little bit of a scene happening. And I think also the guidebook entry pops up, so you don't need to dig into this. You can do that with your phone, which I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to use that a whole hell of a ton, but I do think that's very cool. So we've had a look at the guidebook entries for the cards. There are also a few tarot spreads, past, present, future. There's a 5-card, which is quite nice, and then a Celtic cross. And then we get straight into the meanings, and then right up to the end as well is the meanings of the Oracle card. And of course, there is their website information, although everything will be linked in the description. So it is a kind of no frills, no fluff guidebook. It's more than a little white book. It's like a medium white book. If you're like a newbie to tarot, I would always suggest you have another, I would say a text because I love a big chunky book, but I think it's more than enough to accompany a reading, especially when you're working with such traditional imagery. I think any Rider-Waite-Smith based book, you'd be grand. You'd be absolutely fine reading this. So I think that is all my thoughts on the deck and the guidebook in and of themselves. I'm now going to give the cards a shuffle. I'll do us a little reading, and I think what I'm going to do is one of my personal favorite readings for myself, which is a more of this, less of that, something to consider, and hopefully will offer us some wisdom. So more of this, we have the 5 of Pentacles. Okay, less of the Magician. Interesting. And then something to consider with intuition. Listen to your heart's whispers. They hold truths untold. So more of this, more of the 5 of Pentacles. Okay, so my instinct is disruption rather than creation, because the 5s are about disrupting the stability of the 4, and the Magician is of not creating out of nothing, but creating out of raw materials. So I feel like on a very basic, more of this, less of that. The message that I'm taking from this intuitively, that I'm using using my heart's whispers. The message is to focus on slowing down because the Five of Pentacles is Mercury and Taurus. So it's Mercury and Taurus, and the Magician is Mercury. That's interesting. So we're slowing down. We are not doing that mercurial zipping about thing. Slow down and disrupt the stability of the Four in the material world, in the sort of quote unquote real world, the here and now, and less of the creating of something new, more of the working with what you've got, is what I would take from that. Let's see what the guidebook has to say. So, Five of Pentacles, financial loss, poverty, a lack mindset, isolation, a challenging time. This card suggests they may be stuck in a scarcity mindset, doubting their ability to rise above the difficulties. It encourages the reader to recognize their inner strength and seek support where needed, as brighter days are ahead. In reverse, it signifies recovery from hardship, renewed hope, and overcoming adversity. Beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel, moving away from isolation or financial difficulties. So, a much more traditional interpretation than what I went with, but I feel like we'll take the positive aspect of this. So, more of recognizing our inner strength. That actually ties really nicely with intuition. Listen to your heart's whispers, listen to your inner strength, don't doubt your inner strength, rise above those difficulties, and then less of the Magician. Manifestation, resourcefulness, power, inspired action, manipulation, poor planning. The Magician symbolizes the power to manifest your goals through resourcefulness and focused action. Upright, it encourages confidence and reminds you that you already have the tools to succeed. Reversed, it warns of misused potential, poor planning, or hidden doubts holding you back. Trust your abilities, align your intentions, and act with clarity and purpose. Highlights the importance of staying honest with yourself about your goals, and challenges you to fully embrace your personal power and take responsibility for shaping your reality. So the other thing I would read from this, in terms of a more of this, less of that, this is very individual. And even just going off the imagery, this is very individual. This has multiple people. There is a nod to community in the Five of Pentacles. And so I think something to consider, listen to your intuition, follow your intuition, but also look internally, which is where your intuition is always residing. But I think it's an affirmation to look internally, find your internal strength, let your internal strength carry you rather than trying to forge ahead and start something new and do everything all by yourself. So that's my little reading, our little collective reading. As per usual with these things, take what resonates, leave the rest, you know the drill. So those are my thoughts on the Fantôme Tarot Deluxe Edition with Oracle deck. I think it's a really lovely Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. Personally, I love it for the She-Ra vibes. As I said, She-Ra's a real big deal in our household, so I'm sure it's going to get a lot of love for the nostalgia factor for that. I think the Oracle deck's a really lovely addition, and I like using the two of these together. If this is one that you're interested in, then like I said, all of the information, link to the Kickstarter, link to the creator's website, will be in the description below if you want to go check it out for yourself. I can't stop staring at the backs, honestly. I think this blue foiling is so pretty. Let me know what you thought of this one. Let me know if you got one of their other decks. This is, I'm not sure if I've even said, this is by Lamucci Studios, who I know have a few different decks out. I've seen them, been tempted by their products, by their decks on Kickstarter before. So let me know if you've got one of their other decks, because I'm nosy and curious and I would love to hear. That is everything from me. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you on my next one. Bye bye.